college dropout, desperate to use the restroom, rushed into a cafe hoping to borrow the toilet. But no matter how desperately she begged, the cold-faced waitress insisted she had to make a purchase first. Staring at the long line ahead, the girl felt like her whole world was collapsing. Just as she was completely helpless, a man nearby who was about to pay noticed her awkward situation.
Honey? About to order, do you want your usual? My wife would like a double espresso, although you've had trouble sleeping lately, right, babe?
After a brief moment of surprise, she suddenly understood what the man was trying to do, so she played along and let him order a coffee for her. Once she got the key, Bea thanked Ben, but just as she was about to head to the restroom, Ben took her coat and said he'd wait for her outside. Ben's gesture made her heart race. She thought he must be interested in her. So while using the restroom, she excitedly told her sister what had just happened. She was convinced that in just a moment he would definitely ask her out. But the next second, the faucet sprayed water all over her pants. What if Ben saw her like this? To maintain her perfect image, she frantically used the hand dryer to dry her pants, only to accidentally burn herself and let out a yelp, which caught the attention of people outside.
Are you okay?
I'm big time okay!
Okay.
After several minutes of drying, she finally walked out of the restroom, but the invitation she'd been expecting never came. Awkwardly, she said goodbye to Ben and left. Just then, Ben noticed a trash bag stuck to the bottom of her shoe and called out to warn her.
So are you gonna ask me out now?
Yeah, I am.
While Bea wasn't paying attention, Ben stepped on the bag and helped her out. And just like that, a love-hate relationship began. Because they had a mutual attraction, it only took one afternoon together for feelings to blossom. That same night, Bea followed Ben back to his place. As night fell and the mood turned romantic, after a passionate night, they fell asleep on the couch together. But no one could have predicted that this newly sparked romance would be snuffed out the very next morning. Bea was the first to wake up. She quietly moved Ben's arm off her, carefully packed her things and snuck out of Ben's house. But what she didn't know was that her movements had already woken Ben.
I left before you could wake up. I don't know why. Why did I? Woke you up. I didn't. This whole thing is so new to me.
He simply lay there, silently watching her leave without a word. She had no idea her silent exit had left a deep emotional scar on Ben.
My boy's in love! That I couldn't get her out of here fast enough. This girl's a disaster. She's a nothing.
So when she came back, she overheard Ben's sarcastic remark. Bea was utterly shocked. She panicked and turned to leave, and from that moment all the misunderstandings piled up. They became strangers again. They didn't meet again until half a year later. Ben had been invited out for drinks by his friend Pete. Coincidentally, Pete's sister Claudia was dating Bea's sister, Hallie. When they introduced Ben and Bea to each other, both of them were visibly stunned. Clearly, neither expected to meet again under such circumstances. The atmosphere immediately turned tense. Seeing things getting awkward, their friends quickly arranged for Ben and Bea to talk alone. As Pete, Claudia, and Hallie, those closest to Ben and Bea, watched, they quickly figured out the truth. The two people who once liked each other now couldn't stop exchanging harsh words, even dragging Hallie and Claudia's relationship into their arguments. Both Ben and Bea believed Hallie and Claudia's relationship wouldn't last. If they could just get through the night, maybe they'd never have to see each other again. But to their surprise, 3 months later, Hallie and Claudia got engaged. The wedding was set to take place in a European country, and of course both Ben and Bea were invited, and they even ended up on the same flight. Seeing Bea traveling alone, Ben saw a golden opportunity to poke fun at her and went over to say hi. Because that night at the bar, Bea said she already had a fiancé, but now she was heading to the wedding solo. Ben jokingly pointed to the random old man sitting next to her and called him Bea's fiancé. This left Bea speechless and instantly ruined her good mood. Once again, they launched into a verbal sparring match, which only ended when the plane was about to take off and Ben returned to his business class seat. Later that night, Bea woke up needing to use the restroom, but it was already occupied. While waiting, she noticed she was standing right next to Ben. A cookie on his tray caught her eye. Maybe she was hungry, or maybe she just wanted some payback. Bea simply grabbed the cookie and put it right into her mouth, but as she stood up, she accidentally hit a button on his seat, causing the armrest to rise and trap her clothing. Trying not to wake Ben, she awkwardly maneuvered her body and began pulling at her clothes. With her backside pointed toward Ben's face, she began her silent struggle. An elderly woman nearby opened her eyes for a second, glanced at her calmly, then went right back to sleep. When the clothes still wouldn't come out, Bee turned and tried a different angle. Finally, she freed herself. It was then she noticed Ben's earbuds were still playing music. No wonder he hadn't woken up. The next day, Pete picked them up from the airport, and Ben and Bee had no choice but to share the same car. Even though they were annoyed with each other, they had to accept they'd be seeing a lot more of each other in the days ahead. But when they arrived, something else upset Ben even more. His ex-girlfriend Margaret, Claudia's best friend, was also invited, and she'd brought her new boyfriend along. Margaret had broken Ben's heart. He took 2 years to recover. Seeing her again brought nothing but frustration. On Bee's side, trouble was brewing too. With her sister getting married, her parents turned up the pressure to get her married too. That evening, the two ran into each other in the hallway. This time, there were no words exchanged. They simply went to join the others. After dinner, the group started playing a word-guessing game.
All right, 4 words. A woman who uses her sexuality to take advantage of other people.
Fuckboy.
But what was meant to be a fun time turned into another round of verbal sparring between Ben and Bee. The poor old man who was on their team looked completely bewildered. Eventually, their bickering caused a small accident and disrupted the entire party. To prevent their feud from ruining the wedding, everyone held a meeting. As outsiders, the others could see that Ben and Bee clearly still had feelings for each other. There must have been a misunderstanding, so they all agreed to help Ben and Bee make up. And the plan was set in motion. Hearing that the conversation was about Bee, Ben slowly shuffled over to the corner and started eavesdropping.
B wants us to tell him how much she likes him, so he lets his guard down and goes to her. Some Cupids kill with arrows, and some with traps.
That was good. I like that. That's good.
I just made it up.
So, he needs to go to her, drop his drawers, and say, come to Papa.
What are you doing?
I'm from a different generation. But the bottom line, B likes Ben.
At the same time, something similar was happening on Bee's end. It was obvious Ben had taken the bait. Bee was annoyed by his smug, "I knew you liked me" look, and revealed that the whole setup was intentional. Ben didn't believe her and thought she was just embarrassed to admit it. That is, until Bee took him to see Hallie and Claudia hiding behind the scenes. Before they could talk things through, Claudia's mother appeared and asked them to help retrieve her sunglasses from a small boat in the ocean. Even though they suspected this was yet another matchmaking trick, Ben and Bee still swam out together. That's when Bee discovered Ben was actually terrible at swimming. He barely made any progress, so she ended up dragging him to the boat herself. But at that moment, Bee saw something that instantly annoyed her. Her parents had secretly brought her ex-boyfriend, Jonathan, hoping the two of them would get back together. Bee couldn't stand her parents' controlling ways anymore, and she had no interest in getting back with Jonathan. So she suggested to Ben that they pretend to be a couple starting now. After all, someone was already trying to play matchmaker for them. This way, she could not only deal with her ex-boyfriend, but also spark Ben's ex-girlfriend's jealousy and make Margaret come back to Ben. After imagining his ex-girlfriend constantly showing up with her new boyfriend, Ben clenched his teeth and agreed. The first thing they had to do was let everyone know they were together. The easiest and most effective way was to show affection in public. But the scene didn't come off sweet at all. In fact, it made people a little uncomfortable. Clearly, it didn't have the effect they were hoping for. So, during a group hiking trip, they decided to put on another performance.
Wow.
Get in there.
Well,
Oh, are you ticklish?
They were completely immersed in their performance, whispering in each other's ears and playfully grabbing one another, totally unaware that no one was watching them. Everyone's attention had been captured by a wild koala.
And I believe all manwoods.
I'm sorry.
What the They hunt bears!
Even with all that commotion, they still failed to grab anyone's attention. Ben was already in full-on panic mode, sticking his butt out and asking Bee to check it for him.
Wow.
Seeing that this wasn't working, Bee decided to just come clean to her parents. She took Ben by the hand and told them they were in a relationship. Thankfully, her parents didn't object. They said they only brought Jonathan because they were concerned about her. Later, Bee had a long talk with Jonathan. He was forced to accept that she had moved on, although it was obvious he hadn't let go yet. On Ben's side, there was an unexpected surprise too. Margaret approached him to ask about his relationship with Bee. She subtly hinted that she wanted to get back together, even admitting that her current boyfriend was just for fun. She said Ben was the kind of man worth marrying. This made Ben feel their plan was working. He excitedly ran to B to discuss the next step. Even though B's own issues were mostly resolved, she agreed to keep up the act for Ben's sake. So they decided to take things up a notch at the yacht party that night. When they set off, B's sexy dress made it hard for Ben to take his eyes off her. He wanted to open the car door for B, but Margaret jumped in instead, so B had to sit in the car behind them. But when they got out, they seized the moment and put on a big display of affection. Margaret's face instantly changed when she saw it. That night, aboard a luxurious yacht, everyone was dancing to the music. Watching Margaret and her boyfriend Beau dancing together annoyed Ben. So he pulled B onto the dance floor and started dancing with passion, and B went along with him wholeheartedly. They danced passionately, completely unaware that in that moment, their eyes were filled only with each other. A happy smile even appeared on B's face, though she quickly tried to hide it. Ben completely forgot this was all supposed to be for Margaret, until B reminded him to look at Margaret's reaction, and he snapped out of it. That's when B had a great idea. She dragged Ben to the front of the yacht to reenact the Titanic scene. Ben thought it was cheesy and didn't want to do it, but when B promised it would work, he reluctantly agreed. And just as B predicted, everyone turned to look at them. They thought the moment was romantic and genuine and finally believed Ben and B were truly in love. Margaret and Jonathan saw the whole thing as well. It was clear that Ben and B's plan had worked. B's ex-boyfriend had completely given up, while Ben's ex-girlfriend was overwhelmed with jealousy. As the sea breeze blew and they reenacted a movie classic, even though it was just an act, B looked genuinely happy. When Ben noticed everyone had already left, he told B she could stop now. But the moment he let go of her, B fell into the ocean. Hearing B's panicked cries, Ben didn't think twice. He jumped right in after her, completely forgetting he couldn't swim as well as B. Watching the yacht drift farther away, B began to panic. They were far from shore. If no one noticed, they could be in serious danger. Just as hope was fading, Ben spotted a floating buoy in the distance. It was like a lifeline. They swam toward it with all their strength. Meanwhile, someone on the yacht finally noticed they were missing. But since the water was too shallow for the yacht to turn around and get close, the crew immediately called the harbor rescue team. Unaware of this, Ben and B finally reached the buoy and climbed on. For the moment, they were safe. They sat facing each other, and in the tense atmosphere of their shared ordeal, they opened up and talked about so much. Ben asked B why she had broken up with her ex-boyfriend. B told Ben that Jonathan had treated her very well, but he felt more like her parents. She hated the kind of control her parents had over her, so there were many things she didn't want to talk to Jonathan about, including the fact that she didn't want to study law and had secretly dropped out of school. Hearing B's secret about dropping out, Ben immediately remembered the night they first met. That night, B had told him she got into law school but didn't want to study it. Her parents were heavily invested in the idea, so back then, she felt completely lost. But now, she had finally followed her heart. Ben praised her for making it happen. What surprised B at that moment was that Ben actually remembered what she had said that night.
Till you snuck out, of course.
It was only at this moment that they finally talked about the thing that had lingered in their hearts since the day they first met. And after explaining everything to each other, they realized it had all been a misunderstanding. Back then, they had truly fallen for one another, maybe even still did to this day. Gazing across the water at the Sydney Opera House, B made a wish to Ben. If they made it out alive, she hoped Ben would walk with her along the path that led to the Opera House. Because that road was filled with romantics, people who walked only with the ones they loved. She wanted to observe the passers-by, to observe love. Ben agreed and promised he would. Feelings once again blossomed between them. But just as they were about to kiss, a beam of light shone down on them. It was a rescue helicopter. They were soon brought home safely. Ben made the same meal for B that he had on the night they first met. As their feelings kept growing stronger, the fireworks of love fully ignited in that very moment. Just when B thought she had started a beautiful relationship, everything suddenly changed. That night, when everyone had returned, Ben woke up and quietly slipped out of her room first thing. This time, it was Ben who ran away. B didn't understand why, and even by the next day, she still hadn't heard from him. Today was the day of Hallie and Claudia's wedding. B was assigned to go pick up the custom wedding cake with Margaret.
So you and Ben on serious?
What? No, it's just we're just situationally together.
So you're at if I have a go at him then?
Facing Margaret's seemingly provoking words, B couldn't respond because she had no idea what Ben was thinking. Meanwhile, Ben's indecision was frustrating even Pete. Ben couldn't choose between Margaret and B because he wasn't sure if B's feelings for him were just a fleeting impulse.
I don't know, man. I don't know. She doesn't know what she wants. She's single for basically the first time in her life. She just quit law school. Her fiance's here.
Man, stop with all the white boy. Hey, whoa. Seriously. Anytime something gets real, you run away, call yourself a boy, make an excuse, and you just move on to the next. It's B. We jumped off a boat for her.
Pete's words woke Ben up. He realized that deep down he had already made his choice. But just as he was about to find B and apologize for running away the night before, something big happened on B's side. Her parents found out she had secretly taken a break from school, and they came storming in to confront her. With everyone present, the secret was out, and B had only told one person, Ben, so there was only one possibility. At that exact moment, Ben also showed up. In the end, it was Ben who had let the secret slip.
I can't believe you. You told him I quit school?
No, I didn't.
When you told Pete, Pete told us.
B was overwhelmed with emotions, and she unleashed all the hurt and frustration she had just suffered from her parents onto Ben. Just like that, their barely begun relationship ended once again. With things having gone this far, B no longer cared about anything. She gave up and confessed the entire truth in front of everyone, that she and Ben had been pretending to be a couple. While everyone looked at them in shock over the lie, a dog appeared and knocked over the wedding cake.
I am so sorry.
Claudia gave B and Ben a look before storming off angrily. After all, it was because of them that everything had fallen apart. The ruined cake sealed the fate of this imperfect wedding. B looked at Ben, filled with sorrow and grievance. Under her father's gaze, she silently returned to her room. The wedding was set for the afternoon. It still had to go on. Through the window, Ben overheard a conversation between Hallie and Claudia.
Even with me? Well, you've been more concerned about your planning. Are you marrying me or your itinerary?
Well, if that's how you feel, then why are we even doing this?
He hadn't realized just how much damage he and B had caused them. He immediately rushed to knock on B's door. At this point, the only thing they could do was peacefully help Hallie and Claudia get through their wedding. With Ben and B's sincere apology, they were forgiven by the couple. Soon after, the group set off joyfully to the wedding venue, and in a cheerful atmosphere, the ceremony went smoothly. At the reception, B received a surprise she never expected. Her parents came to apologize for the harsh words that morning. They told her they understood and that they weren't controlling or closed-minded. As long as she was willing to talk to them, they would always support her decisions. In that moment, B realized that maybe having her secret exposed wasn't such a bad thing after all. From now on, things between her and her parents might actually get better. On the other side, Margaret confessed her feelings to Ben. While Beau was off surfing, she pulled Ben onto the dance floor and told him how much she missed him. Then she kissed him. It was their long overdue kiss. But in that moment, Ben finally understood. He had been clinging too tightly to old memories, haunted by regret after giving his all with no return. But that wasn't love. He no longer had those feelings for Margaret. What he didn't know was that B had seen the kiss. That one moment broke her heart, and she couldn't stay there a second longer. She quietly left the wedding venue. She walked through the bustling streets, feeling nothing but loneliness and pain. She raised her hand to hail a cab, and the moment she sat down inside, tears finally streamed down her face. No matter the harsh words, no matter all the misunderstandings, the ache in her heart made it clear. She still loved this man. Meanwhile, Ben sat alone, lost in thought. The same group of friends who had tried to push him and B together started dropping hints again. But this time, Ben called them out and vented his frustration. He didn't even know what his feelings for B truly were anymore. He felt nothing but confusion, doubt, and anxiety. Then Claudia's father said just one sentence that suddenly woke him up. Trust the choice in your heart. True love is rare and precious. Don't wait until it's gone to regret it. After a moment of deep thought, Ben made up his mind. He had to find the woman he loved. But then he was told that B had already left, after seeing him kiss Margaret. Everyone urged him to go after her, but no one knew where she had gone. Without a destination, searching for her would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Then Hallie revealed a key detail. Before leaving, B had told them she might go observe passersby. Observe passersby, that's it. That's the place. The next second, Ben downed a cup of coffee in one gulp. Then, under everyone's confused stares, he ran toward the cliffside and shouted, "Call the port rescue team!" And with that, he jumped straight off the cliff. Turns out this was the fastest way he could think of to find B. When he was pulled into the rescue helicopter, and the crew learned that he was chasing after the girl he loved, they didn't hesitate to help. Meanwhile, B really had gone to the Sydney Opera House. She stood there watching all the romantic couples passing by, but her eyes were filled with loneliness. Then suddenly, as the sound of a distant roar approached, she turned around. And in that instant, an overwhelming joy surged through her. Ben came running toward her without hesitation. He told B he had been a fool. He had wasted all those days after meeting her, not spending every moment by her side. And last night he ran away because he was scared that she'd regret it, scared of losing someone he truly loved. After a heartfelt and emotional confession, they finally came together at that very moment. It was love at first sight when they first met. Even after all the misunderstandings and harsh words, they still felt the same. Two sincere people, choosing each other all over again. From the moment they met, maybe their love had already been written in the stars. So now, have you found the one who truly loves you?